Hey everybody, this is Her Truck 101, and I know I've been gone for a minute, but I literally am wrapping up like my first month solo. So I just wanted to include some little information that I've learned along the way, and I'll be posting it as we go along here. So, what I wanted to talk about today was trip planning. Trip planning is very important, just so you know you're not lost, you're a little bit more organized. I know if you're like myself, if you're one of those people that get nervous when things kind of go all out of whack, I just try to keep myself organized so that I'm calm, prevents anxiety attacks, and also it prevents things from, just jumping out of the way on you that you weren't aware of that could possibly happen. So, tip number one I wanted to say, and I did write these things down as they just popped out of my head. So, for trip planning, I have about, I would say, maybe like 8 tips that I feel like if you use these in the beginning, these things will be very helpful. Like I said, this is only my first month solo by myself, so I'm just giving you some things that I learned along the way as I started. So we'll go ahead and start. So, trip planning. The first tip that I wanted to say was allow a 2 hour buffer window, right? Because when you have your 14-hour clock, of course, you technically have 11 hours, but realistically you only have 8 hours that you are allowed to drive, and I would say don't count um those other 3 hours, because you got to consider you have a pre-trip and a post-trip, right? So that's going to take about, if those are 20 minutes a piece, right, we'll say that takes 40 minutes, so that's one of the hours out of the three there. Then also you have a 30-minute break, and let's say you might need to go to the bathroom at a rest stop, or I don't know, there's a store or something that you saw along the way that you wanted to run into to grab something. So we'll just say that takes up another hour, so we'll give 30 minutes for the um rest stop area, and then 30 minutes for your actual break, right? So then that only leaves you another hour to basically find parking. So that's why I said you only have 8 hours really to drive. So I just look at it as eight. I don't look at it as 11. So I try to be productive within that window. So anyway, you want to allow a 2 hour buffer when you're doing your trip planning, just to allow time for um, just in case. Like I went through an area recently where it was like up in Massachusetts somewhere, and they had a lot of construction in that area. I mean, in total I would say it was probably like 3 hours, and then there's areas that you got to consider, that it could be traffic, it could be an accident, somebody could be broke down on the side of the road, or the accident could be in the middle of the road. Also, you got to consider there could be a breakdown, not necessarily just of somebody else's truck, but it could be your own truck. And also, you got to consider detours. Sometimes your GPS will guide you to places that say it's not for trucks. So you got to, watch those signs and pay attention. So yeah, just allow a 2 hour buffer for traffic, for speed changes. Like sometimes you'll see signs that all of a sudden you were going 65 and now it's like go 35, go 45. So that gives you time to account for speed changes, for an accident, whether it be yours or another truck, a breakdown, whether it be yours or another vehicle, and construction, and also detours. Sometimes you have to detour around certain roads, and that could take you another 20, 30 minutes. So just keep that all in mind. Point number two I wanted to get to, which is very important, which I'm not going to say who doesn't do this, but let's just say it's probably like something a lot of companies do. Um, you want to make sure, and I'm going to stress this, very important, make sure that you call the shipper yourself. I don't care if it says in your notes, don't call the shipper, right? Because all of them say that. All right. You have to be proactive as a person, because this is your job and this is your money and this is your load, and ultimately you're responsible for getting there on time and confirming appointments, etc. I know your DM is supposed to do that, but essentially they're kind of like babysitters. I mean, we're all adults, we picked this career because it's more independent, like you don't have to have somebody micromanage you. So like I said, I don't care what it says in the notes, call the shipper, because you will thank yourself later. Also, when you call the shipper, just confirm the obvious. Confirm your appointment time. Confirm your delivery time. If you have your BOL information written down already, go ahead and give that to them and make sure that it's still the same trailer that they're supposed to be receiving, which is what you're currently driving there, and confirm the trailer that you're supposed to be picking up. Just make sure that information matches. So again, confirm your appointment time, confirm the delivery location. Also, when here's another big one, because a lot of companies don't like to do this as far as like following up. Um, you want to make sure you ask them what their policy is for rescheduling a load, just in case something comes up and you can't make that time. You need to find out, is there paperwork that you need to send in to reschedule? Is this something I could do? Is this something only my DM could do? Usually it's something your DM can do, but I've learned from experience a lot of these companies only respond by email, and it makes a big difference if it's on a weekday or a weekend. So just ask that. Prevent the headache for yourself, especially if your company wants to send you these 2-day loads because they feel like, oh, it's just going to be a quick one. You can make a lot of money from that. But you got to consider, if it's a 2-day load, everything has to go perfectly well within those 16 hours. If there's an accident, a slowdown, a breakdown, you just don't feel like it that day, whatever, all that are going to be delays that will slow you down. So like I said, again, call the shipper. I don't care what it says in the notes. Confirm your appointment time, confirm your delivery location, and also find out what you have to do for a reschedule. That way, if you already know you're not going to make your appointment, go ahead and say, hey, DM, whatever, I'm not going to make the appointment for order such and such and such. Here's what you need to do for a reschedule. If it's something that you could do yourself, just do it yourself. If your DM is really not that active to assist you, then find somebody else at the company that will do it. Call a manager if you need to, and they'll get it done. All right, so point number 3, I'm just switching the camera around, guys, because obviously my arm is tired. That means I need to get a phone stand. But anyway, point number 3, before committing to a load, before you commit to that 2-day load because you feel like it's just going to be a quick run and you're going to make all this money, whatever, check the ETA, right? Check the time that you're going to arrive and make sure that you have the hours to make the delivery on time. Okay, there's again all these same factors that I just told you that you need to consider. If there's an accident, a breakdown, construction, give yourself a 2-hour buffer window. Also, if you are taking on a live load, which means you have an empty trailer and you basically have to pull into the dock or struggle back in, as us newbies have to do, struggle back into the dock, and then they load you on site. Make sure that you realize you have to have at least a 2-hour buffer window for them to load your trailer, because when you get there, you don't know if it's going to be appointment based or it's going to be first come first serve type situation, which a lot of these places are. They don't care about if you got here at 6 a.m. or whatever. It's whoever jumped into the line in front of you. So keep that in mind. But again, if you had already called the shipper before, like, I advise you to do, these are things that you would already know. But when I say check the ETA on your loads, I know from experience, I committed to a load once that was like 4 a.m. in the morning, and this is a 2-day trip. So realistically, could I have made it? I don't know, probably not, but this is just like newbie information that I'm giving you so you don't go through the same issue that I went through. Also, like I said, make sure that before you commit to the load, literally take 5 minutes and write out where you are right now. Put it in your phone, GPS, whatever. I know most of us use our cell phones. So from where you are right now, write out the location where you need to go. Like if I stop here tonight, how long, is it gonna take me to get from this point to the next point? Okay, is that gonna take 6 hours? Well, if I stop for the night at 7, what time will my hours come back? Okay, well, if I stop at 7, then my hours won't start the next day until 5 a.m. Now, if you want to leave at 5 a.m. in the morning, that's completely fine. But most of these 2-day deliveries like that, those deliveries are for mostly that I've seen before 6 a.m. So that's another tip. If you're not going to be one of those people that just drive until you're ridiculously tired or burn your clock out, you might want to avoid the loads that are like 4 a.m. in the morning, because like I said, you're taking a gamble, especially on a 2-day trip. That means for 8 hours each day, everything has to go perfectly well, because any little delay, like I said, an accident, a breakdown, construction, detour, anything, you have to consider that in your time. And yeah, you do send your macro 22 to update the shipper, but like I said, if you call to find out what information you have to reschedule, you can already do that ahead of time so that you're not in a situation where you're stuck with a load that you pretty much can't get rid of now. So point number 4, and this is very important. I know it sounds simple and just like you should know that already, but like I said, I didn't know that already because again, this is only 30 days by myself. So you want to make sure that the drop location they're sending you to has an empty, because I don't know, some companies, I don't want to say necessarily companies, it could be dispatch or just this organization, but they don't confirm that they have an actual empty before they send you somewhere. So as I said, you as a person can get your phone, and call, especially if it's like a T call or something like that, where you need to get rid of a load and they're just sending you back to the terminal to pick up an empty. Call before you drive at least 2 hours out, because the terminal is always 2 hours out from where you are. That's just like rule of thumb, I'm realizing. Make sure you call the terminal or whatever location they're sending you to and confirm they have an empty. If they say I only have one empty, I won't even say one. If they say they have a less than 3 empties, call your DM or call your terminal and get another backup option for an empty, because saying they have less than 3, you're taking a big gamble, even if it's less than 5, because when you get there, 2 of those trailers could be just for storage or already set up for somebody else to use. So if you don't know for a fact that they have, I'm going to say at least 4 empties that are available, just call the DM and make sure there's a backup trailer that you can pick up, just to alleviate you running around looking for an empty when you can't find one. Because when you get there and you can't find an empty, you're gonna have to get back on the phone and wait, and then it's like, oh my god, I'm in Nebraska, wherever, I don't have an empty. Then they're gonna go like, oh, you don't have an empty, let me call you back and see what I can do. And then you're gonna be sitting there for 45 minutes. So I'm just telling you this so you prevent from doing that like I did. All right, so point number 5, if you miss an appointment time, because all the new people, you're gonna miss an appointment time. Like, it's gonna happen unless you're just 100% on top of it. And I'm not saying that I hope this happens. I'm just giving you realistic scenarios so you're prepared. So if and when you do miss an appointment and you can't reschedule it, have your terminal call and get you another empty, like immediately. If you call the company and you find out, oh my god, my appointment time was for 7 and I've been updating them that it's going to be 7:30, and then oh my god, it's going to be 8, whatever, just go ahead and call your company when you already know that you're going to be more than 30 minutes late. I would go ahead and call your company and just have them take you off of that load and find you an empty. Just do that, because like I said, a lot of these companies have certain policies where you can't just reschedule like that. And if it's a hypersensitive load, meaning that it has to be there at the appointment time, 9 times out of 10 they're not going to take that trailer, and you just wasted your time driving the rest 4 some odd hours to get to the location. And now they're not going to take it, and now it's like 6 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever time you leave. It's probably going to be close to 5 or after 5, so all the main people are not at the office, and it's just going to be a cluster F of everything. So like I said, call and get another load and call and have them either T-call that load back to the terminal or get you another empty. But anyway, you need to get out of that situation. All right, point 6, when you pick up a trailer, when you're picking up an empty, I would say make sure that number 1, it is empty before you leave the yard, because the yard jockeys and the people that work at the front desk, they don't know what they're talking about. They'll tell you, oh, where are the empties at? And you go in there all happy, right? Because you're on time, you got all your information. You're like, oh my god, where's the empties, Jessica? And Jessica's like, oh, hey, new driver, because you don't know, all the empties are on row M. And then you go all the way to row M, and then you're so happy, you're like, oh my god, I hooked up, I checked everything, I'm feeling good. You're getting ready to leave, and it's like, oh my god, at the gate, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to drop that trailer because it's not an empty. So point number 2 is make sure the trailer is empty before you even hook up to it. Okay, 9 times out of 10, if it has a seal on it, it is loaded. Don't break the seal. So look for trailers around you that don't have seals. Open the doors, make sure it's empty. If it's excessively dirty when you get inside of it, you might just want to do a quick sweep out, because some of these places will not load a trailer that has 1 speck of dirt in it. So I'm just telling you, do that really quick when you pick it up. Also, when you pick up a trailer, you want to check the landing gear, like the handles, because a lot of these trailers that you pick up, the handles are just trash. They just are. They're really tight to let up or really tight to let down. So if you can avoid a trailer that looks janky, like janky as in it's got a lot of dents around it, you see like film or tape that's been taped onto the side trying to hold it together, or like I said, the landing gear just looks really tight, just avoid that trailer, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to pick up a problem, then you're going to be stuck with a service issue or a breakdown later on. So just avoid that trailer. But again, check the landing gear, make sure the handle works. Check the tandems if you want. You can double check and make sure they're slide, but of course make sure that they're in place. If you have that little spray like for rust and things like that, you can always spray it down. I usually do that once I pick the trailer up, just so it has time to kind of sit in there. And also you want to check the lights, because if your ABS light is out, they're going to send you into the shop for that, and then you're going to be sitting there for 2 hours about a light. So just make sure, again, you check the handles, you check the landing gear, you check the lights, and that's pretty much it on that. Okay, and let's see. Point number 7, when you get ready to leave the shipper, just make sure you go ahead and scan your BOL, like your bill of lading. Just go ahead and scan that right as you get ready to exit, because I know you have to do the time that you got in and the time that you got out. I usually just write that. So write your arrival and departure time on the BOL, put your order numbers on the BOL. You just want to start with good organization. Like I have 2 folders where I keep everything by trip together. So you might want to invest in like one of these little staplers that you see at the truck stop, just so you keep all your paperwork together. If there's any issue, you can go right back to that trip. So keep your like I said, scan your BOLs as soon as you leave. Make sure you put your arrival time, your departure time. Make sure you get signatures from whoever you need to get a signature from. Like I said, you might want to invest in a stapler. That way you can kind of keep everything together. All of your receipts, your way tickets. I don't know if your company reimburses you for that or not, but go ahead and scan all of that information in at one time. Write the scan date on the bottom of the trip, and then staple it, put it in a folder, and you're good to go. So last point I wanted to say, which is small point but important. When you get ready to park for the night, and usually I don't care what time you drive, but like 7:30 is probably about the best time, or the last time. I won't say the best time, but it is like one of the last times that you will be able to find parking for the night. And I know most people, and this is if you like to park at a truck stop where you can get food, get gas, get a shower. That's the only reason I like to park at a truck stop area myself. Is just safer, just in case something happens, but unless you have a weapon or you're one of those girls that's carrying like that, then you should be good to go. But otherwise, I would say make sure that you have at least 2 locations in mind that you can park at, just in case you get to a place. And some places I've been, it's a very small town. Like the other day I went somewhere and it's like, I think I was in Sturbridge, Massachusetts somewhere, and they only have like 1 pilot on this one exit. So there's like 87,000 trucks there. That's not necessarily somewhere that you want to park, because parking is going to be tight. Also, if you are okay with parking at the rest stop, those are good options to park too, because usually most people prefer to park at the truck stop, but the rest area, you won't have to compete for parking, because there's usually going to be maybe space for like, I would say between 6 and 20 trucks, so it's smaller. Just keep in mind, sometimes the rest areas don't have bathrooms, so that's the only thing. But that's an option for parking also. You can use the apps and reserve a parking space, but I don't really do all that. Because mostly my company wants you to park at either, well, I won't say want you to park, but that's where you gas up mostly, is like at a Love's, a TA, or a Pilot, or a Flying J, or something like that. But I do know sometimes if you can't find the name brand places to park that your company wants you to go, just look on Google and find out what are popular truck stops in that state, because every state has different companies that are popular in their area for parking. And you might not know that, because when I'm on the exit, sometimes if I can look over the cars and I see like, oh, that's a truck stop and I just need to stop for the night, I'll just stop there. It could be like a mom and pop place and you'll have a better chance of parking. So I think that I've covered basically all the basics for trip planning. So hopefully this helps you out and you can avoid some mistakes that I made, within my first 30 days. And I'll be back with another video. I'm out.